Ade achi ebio nsɛm no adɔso wɔ aboa no na etiefo nsɛm no akyesɛ etiefo abeto yɛ naso ɛwura mi pa etiefo si kaku eji no kokoro num ntimi embetena ha kanka nsɛm bi de nhyehyɛ mpanyinfo bi ayɛ ano na kyesɛ etiefo mesrew de mekena sɛ mesrew sɛ bɛgye brani akotie nsɛm na ankasa efiri nkrɔfo me de ɔmo ka yɛ enum na kyana wɔn gu so a ohwe anasɛ kasa video ne gu so a ohwe aha ye enkasa TV mom nim se enkasa TV de efa news efa politics ho de eye enkasa TV number 1 timesel se on subscribe to enkasa TV abe subscribe to YouTube channel enkasa TV be like it na be share video we na be comment channel so ade ama fro na enkasa TV de news a emuti apo emuda ho che emu to asuma che se oka eka na ede be soma bo an ncheti for yes ebre no yes be kwakwaji ensirimu ire inchemu ne abasia ne ba enkasa TV ensime bo pie akire bia be bia no yedi na ba soma bobo ano yen conference a me do bia so nya bre ehwe me.
Before I get, because I think we really need to go through the process, because I think for the public, when a lot of these things are politicized, very, very difficult to separate facts from fiction and propaganda and all of those kinds of things. But it's very important that, because of what is at stake, at the end, even the politicians will say, everybody knows when you are in public office, if you have to be held accountable, you need to present yourself to be held accountable. But this is not new.
He may be a politically exposed person.
Exactly.
In public office.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, politically, either through a transaction or whatever. But this post-regime accountability process is not new. You can go back to the 2000s with Quality Grain, Victor Salome and the rest, 2009 to the Ghana 50 prosecutions. Almost every 8 years, we go through this process. And actually, in a weird way, it is probably the only successful way in which we have held politically exposed persons accountable in this Fourth Republic. Right? If we're talking about, even just recently, Sednam Tamaklo, whatever, you can go the list, Atu Forcing, all of those people. Now, the issue with, what's it called, Wontumi's case is, so there's a Rambo-style arrest issue and then the bail conditions. So the Rambo-style issue, I think, a lot of people have condemned, from the the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Keroforiata, even recently the Kumi gentleman and so on. So I think most people have made the point that for some of these things, there's no need to go in with the kind of force. But when they were trying to arrest, or at least, arrest Wontumi, when apparently they invited him and he had not responded, in Kumasi, I am sure any law enforcement agency would have said, if you are going to go and effect an arrest of Wontumi in Kumasi, you definitely cannot go with just a few armed officers, because of what Wontumi represents in Kumasi as chairman. I mean, I've seen him, follow. He has all kinds of following, and we've even seen what has happened subsequently. Anybody that is making a security assessment would have gone. But even in the Kumasi one, some people were saying 20 years, but it was obviously less than that. So even in that particular circumstance, I would say if they went in with armed police and so on, I wouldn't be surprised, because a crowd might even gather there and all of that. The contention around the CID, I don't think, the issue around the CID invitation, coming to CID, the charges that have been preferred, I don't think anybody is disputing. I have not heard any complaints about that.
That's right.
So I think we need to put that on the side, right? The Akonta mining matter, and I agree that this has been on the table for long. We've been debating it and discussing it. So the charges and all of that. It's not new. The issue is the EOCO arrest, which and remember, EOCO has not preferred any charges. EOCO has only is investigating, and we got in from the AG that they are investigating organized crime, fraud, and money laundering, and all of that. The arrest, again, the concern is that it was made Rambo style. I think by the time Wontumi left CID, and I don't know those who were there who could probably, but at least he still had following, right? So if you were EOCO and you needed to arrest him, how were you going to do it? Were you going to let him go back to and then invite him? I mean, these are law enforcement tactics that are used all the time. So I don't have a problem with whether the person is invited or is arrested. In both cases, there are procedures, legal procedures to follow. If you arrest, you give the person, they have access to their lawyer, all of those things. And it doesn't appear that was a problem with the EOCO matter. It only became a problem when the bail condition issue was raised. And as we have discussed it all here, there are so many things that go into determining what is bail, the bail value and all of that. And it looks like the kinds of things...
But it must be said that even before the bail was set, they stormed the EOCO premises.
Yes, I know. Because
they almost spent a whole night there.
Yeah, and that was bound to happen. And we've seen it in previous time. As I said, this is a typical, after every 8 years, when because particularly when people that are officers of the party are arrested, you get a different kind of mobilization that goes on. Often, like appointees and so on don't normally get that. But officers of the party, you will get that. So people like, they have arrested Wontumi with chairman, regional chairman of the party in Ashanti, and people are mobilizing there. But at that point, there wasn't really, for me, an issue. The bill that was set, which we have gone over, we know that others, they are even, so it's not unreasonable for a 50 million bill to be set, and depending on what is being investigated. But the question was, why didn't the lawyers of Wontumi go to court to vary it? Because that is what the legal procedure is, right? That if the public officer exercises their discretion around bail, that if you want to address it, because often they might negotiate and say, oh no, maybe it's too high, and you get. But it looks like they were unwilling to reduce it. So from Tuesday, I think, when he was arrested, I mean, they could have gone to court that way. But from what has happened with the Ay3ka Take and what Gary Nwaku went to do, it seems like there's a conflict on who exactly is representing Wontumi. And that is what has complicated the matter. So maybe I'm just speculating here, but from Ay3ka Take, he was trying to meet the bail conditions. That was the strategy, that they felt confident that they could meet the bail conditions. And he thought that, as at yesterday night, that could have been addressed. Then there's other legal representation, more from the party, who thought that it is outrageous and they want to challenge it. But they waited. So somehow, this conflict internally within the group seemed to have prolonged the process.
A day before this application was filed.
Yes.
That was on Thursday. And the Ay3ka Take was speaking to the media, and he was consistent in what he said last night, that they were working on the bail. People were saying it was onerous, it was whatever. You didn't hear him appear to agree. So all his focus was that I want to get my client out. And he was saying they were succeeding, they were getting closer to it.
So so how do you blame EOCO in this?
Exactly.
In this particular instance? Because
why not blame EOCO? Because people have gone there with under similar sort of investigations. Well, some of us have been there privately,
Yes.
doing our business with people whose the money's in front of them is far, far more.
Way more.
And some of them may walk on self-recognizance.
I will
Do
give
you
you
feel that they felt
Please, hold on.
they felt a little insulted that they went to arrest him, they couldn't get him? After they arrested him, the party people stormed the place and were issuing all sorts of threats. Do you feel all of these must have informed?
No, so what I'm saying is that why blame EOCO is that even if EOCO is unreasonable, that's the whole reason why you go to court to ask for the bail condition to be reviewed. And they are so